But because we're one-dimensionalized with the educational system, we think that all these fun thoughts that we have, oh, I'd like this, and I want to go here, and I want to be this, or whatever, we think all these fun thoughts are just that. It's just, oh, that's just thinking. That really doesn't mean anything. And it's just like when you were young, you wanted to be older, and then soon you were older. You see? That's really how you got there, but because you weren't educated on that, you're thinking, well, no, that can't be it. I just automatically get older. But the funny thing is, because you decided, and now you're unconsciously deciding it, now you keep getting older, and now you can't stop it. You see? You don't know how to stop it because you've put it into motion. It's kind of like rolling a stone downhill. All of a sudden it gets too far past you and you can't catch up with it, you see? And this is kind of how it is with the thoughts that we have. We keep building and building, and we keep putting them in the future to where we got so many thoughts and ideas out there that all of a sudden there's a part of us that follows that, and we don't consciously realize that we are following that pattern that we agree to, because the personal self, especially in this day and age, and if you have a good job and you eat good and things are fine, you're basically in la la land. You're basically on this planet just kind of doing whatever it does and going through the motions and maybe doing your 9-to-5 job, and then you go out to restaurants and eat, and you have relationships, and you're having children, you buy the house, etc. You're building up your situation, and then you're saving some money for the future too, when you're older and you don't know where you're at or what you're doing here. All these things, take place as they have many, many lifetimes, because you've forgotten that you were here before, because you still don't have the knowledge that you were. So this is where we, as wonderful worldwide educators, come in. Yes, and this is the fun part, and this is what we like to share with everyone else. And the basic idea of what we're doing is we show you the real you and the personal you that you created here to have your experiences so that you can better understand who you are and what life is. We share with you, real guidance and a real education so that you can become more aware and you can learn to recognize yourself and also recognize where you're at, because just like in the movies, and we have movies today, we're in that age where we have movies, and there are many movies out there that give a great objective view. Actually, the movies are like documentaries. They really do explain very vividly in living color exactly what you're going through, but then again, you've been rehearsed thinking that it's all entertainment. Well, it's not. It's an actuality. Entertainment is an idea that we have, but truly whatever we experience is not entertainment. It's only that if we decide it's entertainment. We can just say, well, that's entertainment and this is my personal life. Well, really, most of our personal lives, if not all of them, are entertainment, because we have reality shows today too. So, and then again, you can add happiness or sadness. You just like spices on a meal, you add these things to your entertainment or your serious life, or however you see it. You add these things to it. You see, so you can be happy or sad or whatever. As we look at the sun above, we see that it's not happy, sad, it doesn't believe in anything, it's not about faith or the gods or anything, it just is. It's an isness, it shines upon all. It seems to be fine all the time. But us so-called people or humans down here, we go through all these things. Actually, we put ourselves through all these things. And we also have to deal with what others put us through and the effects that are going on here. So we, as wonderful worldwide educators, we are on our adventure. And we are also like reporters. We report the real news. We're not picking on people here. We're not criticizing, even though it seems to be so. We're just simply reporting what's taking place. That's all. And we're just simply sharing this with people. Now, it's understandable because we are aware enough to see that, like kids growing up, that everything that we present is not going to be understood, number one, and number two, it's not going to be accepted or agreed to. We get that, okay? But the reality is, for each person that doesn't listen, is that there's still going to be the effect of themselves no matter what. And they can think in their minds, well, I don't believe that, or I don't need that, or I don't want to hear about that. That's understandable. Most of us are like that because we have our own lives, and rightfully we have the right to that. So again, we're just simply on our adventure. We're sharing with others because it's fun, and we're happy to do so. And as we have our own universal community where we share, we have Skypes, we have various classes, we have courses. Again, we have the books. And again, I created this wonderful worldwide educators for the public so that we could relate to them and provide a real education, not just a standard, simulated, rather distorted education that's only one-dimensional. So actually, we're having the most fun by providing this, and we're learning ourselves to become more aware. Now, the overall of the 5 levels, basically 5, 6, and up to the 7th level that I described, these are very important to know. But the biggie is the real big picture of all this is to eventually recognize the all is and how this plays a role in everything, because the all is life itself. Even though most people think, well, creation is life and that the gods are the ultimate and they created all this. Well, actually, it's a surprise, and that is that the gods were invented by the original invaders of the planet here, and they decided that there were gods and that people were to worship and pray to them. So this has been the basic idea through history, through eons and eons of history, and it's constantly reinforced by this alien factor. Actually, we're all aliens here. We just happen to have certain body types. They have certain body types. Well, they were actually on the planet first. They created the doctrines. They all sound good. They're really just business plans like the Bible and the Quran and whatever else is created here, etc. And you see it today. They're basically just businesses, and we have the kings, the queens, the rulers, the authoritarians, the diplomats, the politicians here. They handle what is known as the human farming on this planet. And this is really what it is. It's actually a purposely planned prison planet. And today they're poisoning and polluting it at a fast rate because this is what they do. They're constantly creating distortion because people are becoming more aware. Now, there's a bigger view here, and it's a little scary for most people, and I understand why they wouldn't want to accept it. I really wouldn't want to hear it myself, but there are other planets out there, and as we look at the other planets, we see that, we're thinking, or we're told by NASA or whoever it is, of course, they're part of the deceptors that rule the planet, so I guess that, the information we're getting from them is supposed to be credible, but actually not all of it is. But you're just going to have to figure that out for yourself. And so we have all these other planets out there that we did learn about in school and are described to us. And for the most part, people are thinking, well, there's no life on those planets. But actually, there's, according to how we see life in the embodiments, there is life there, but it's not all physical. It's also astral. And the reptilians and other races like them, have been on these planets before, and that's why the planets have certain atmospheres or etc., because the atmospheres were destroyed by these people. And that is what is happening to the Earth today. That's why we're here doing our part, because we've studied, we've done our homework. We're with what is known as the real universal guides with the all is, and they are showing us on the real side, or what is called your dream visions. This is something that one experiences while the body sleeps. They're going into other dimensions or other realities or other realms. and many times meeting themselves in other worlds. There's a variety of experiences. And so, as we are on this planet, this is what is taking place today. And so this is part of the wake-up also. It's not really good or bad. It's actually part of the wake-up for everybody. This is what we do as worldwide educators. We provide this knowledge. We provide the real knowledge, more so than just a one-dimensional knowledge. There's many people out there in the systems that, if it's educational, political, sci-fi, whatever it is, whatever it's labeled as, philosophy, spiritual, you just go on with these things, historic. These people, for the most part, their view is one-dimensional because they really don't bring in the factor of even the astral worlds. And these aliens that we're dealing with here, and there are many types all over the planet that most people do not see or identify, and they are basically, they are shapeshifters. They can go from astral to physical. They can shapeshift their appearance because they've learned to do this. Now, most humans here, they can't do this. They're not aware of this, but some are. Everybody has their own abilities from this life or past life. And so what we're doing is we're bringing out the real news now. In other words, we're providing what most other people cannot provide. There's so many industries here, from health to medical to professions to careers, etc. And these all apply to the earth, and these are fine. But at some point, the individual reaches, that position where all of a sudden, they're 60, 70, or 80 years old, and their life is basically done here. They realize that they only have a few more years to live, and if they haven't woken up to something else, they really don't know where they're going. Basically, everybody will automatically go into the astral worlds, and sometimes they won't even realize they're there because they don't even recognize it, because they're still carrying identities that they're so used to and ingrained with from their physical experience here. So it takes them a while to adjust. And for the most part, most people don't completely adjust. It's like any of us that have, let's say we're born in the United States, and all of a sudden at 90 years old, we're taken to Russia for some reason. We're kidnapped, or we go there, or our parents decide, or our whatever, the military decides, okay, we're all moving to Russia. Now we've got to figure out a new language, we've got a new landscape to deal with, etc. So is it that we're going to all of a sudden just catch up to everything that's taken place? No. It's going to take us a while, if at all, if we're even interested. You have to at least be motivated to decide to learn something and see what's going on. And so the same thing when people pass over, it's going to be according to the individual and what they decide. Some people are on for the adventure. They go after it. They learn, they pick up things very fast. Others really don't care. They're not interested. And they really kind of stay asleep to what's taking place. And that's really what's happening today. With our fast-moving, fast-paced society, can't seem to keep up. It's going so fast, and it's purposely done that way to keep a distortion going, keep people confused, and keep them busy with things that really don't matter, because again, those that control and rule the earth, they don't want people to see what they're doing and what's going on, because most people are agreeing to go with the systems that support these individuals. And actually, there's plenty on the earth for everybody, and it wouldn't matter how many people are here. There's always plenty. It's just that there are certain individuals that have decided that they want everything, so the population of the earth is manipulated in a particular way, and most people are struggling, thinking that, for the most part, they can't have what others want, even though they want to have what others have. And so their imagination has been limited to a particular, because how they've been indoctrinated and educated. But the sky is the limit for anything. It really is. And so, again, we as worldwide educators, this is what we're providing to the public so that they have the advantage. But it's not necessarily so much what you can get here. That's not the idea. You do what you do to survive, because it's really about survival. But the bigger picture is to become aware of who you really are, to recognize your real awareness, because at some point you will be leaving this life. And it is nice to know where you're going, and it's nice to be able to actually surpass the restrictions of even creation itself, because it doesn't even matter if you go in the astral, causal, mental, or etheric. In these places, these are wonderful places. These are what is known as the heavens of man, and they're almost endless heavens. There's many, many heavens, millions of them, that are wonderful places. But guess what? You're still in cause and effect creation. And if you don't mind being there, well, you can stay there for as long as you want. But eventually, you'll kind of drift back down. You see, that's the process, because, it's kind of like being at Disneyland all the time. It's fun, but you do get bored with it. And that is because there's a bigger picture. The bigger picture is to eventually recognize your real purpose. And your real purpose is actually what the all is. And until you recognize that, you're going to continually go back and forth, and mainly back into reincarnation. And this is really the purpose of coming back down here, because it's very hard here. And through this process of in this physical life, or this physical realm, which is the hardest to struggle and to survive with, the greater motivation is created with the individual to more so be determined to recognize this reality, so that you can, just make the leap altogether and eventually recognize this reality to where you're not at the mercy of cause and effect, or, the tap lines and the urges and everything else that we have here, the desires to, be involved with this anymore, and then you can just walk through it. You're not the effect of it anymore. You're actually a real being, and the real adventure really begins in the real universes, because now you're in the true reality of life, the all-aliveness, and not just in a simulation that we're in here of secondary causes and effects. And so, in the real universes, things don't grow old. There is no darkness. There is no negative karma. There's no good and bad, right and wrong. There's none of these things. There's no cause and effect. It's an isness that you recognize, and it's an endless recognition. There is no end to it. Most people's view of a so-called heaven, and these are the real universes beyond the heavens of man. They're true realities. But for the most part, people's conception of a heaven is that, well, I'm going to go in the clouds and I'm going to play a harp or a violin or whatever it is. Everybody has their idea of this, and for the most part, you can do that. Some people do that, and then after a while they get bored, because again, they know there's something else, and so they're going to search it out. And again, for the most part, most people are attached to what they've gone through, all these personal lives on the physical, so they're going to want to come back here, because many people still have relationships, relatives, etc., what they've created here. And so these ideas, these urges, etc., they pull the individual into certain situations, maybe not right away, but eventually they do. And especially as the person hangs on to them, and they may forget them, but they're still lodged somewhere in the consciousness. And this old idea of consciousness, or God consciousness, and this term is used a whole lot here, just applies, and it really only applies to creation itself. This is the created consciousness, or like a group consciousness, or the consciousness of the individual. It is something created, is what it is. Even though it's kind of termed in this spiritual, holy, divine way, everybody is creating consciousness, whether they're on a spiritual path or religious or holy or divine or what. And these things, again, actually mislead the people for the most part, many of us went through these things, and as we've went through them, we realize we really don't need them anymore. So they, just like when we were young, we wore diapers. At a certain point, we realize, hey, I don't need this anymore. But we did go through them. We see what's going on. They can be a good reference to something else, but when you have the real knowledge from the real universes, like I share in my new books and what we're doing right here, the best part is that you start off with hearing, what is being said here on the Skypes and the recordings, and we have Blog Talk Radio and Facebook and YouTube and other things. But the best part is that we show you how to get your own answers. That's what the new sound, the new you. Now, there have been many sounds in history, and people have graduated through these various sounds or words that have been used, certain phrases that create a reference to certain areas. So we go back millions of years, and it's really wasn't possible for people with the consciousness they had created at that time to really recognize the is, so they went through steps. They had certain words like and amen and these other things. That was the basic idea. Then eventually the hue came along, and now it is the new you. Because at a certain point these words become saturated with misunderstanding, so the connection to the true reality life is no longer there. There's so much misinterpretation, there's so much congested consciousness with these vibrations or these words that they don't work the same anymore. They still work in their own particular areas, and mainly into the astral world. And if people don't keep up, then they don't see what's taking place. And that's understandable too. So then a lot of confusion and confrontation and all these funny things take place, especially in the physical realm here. And this is what we're experiencing today as we bring out the new you. But through my experiences with the real universal guides, I was shown that, the hue had its day, respectfully. And, it's kind of done. It's like the Model T Ford. That had its day, the horse and buggy days, and now we're into what is now. And the new you is the true reality. It is the new way out. It is the real connection to the all is and the real universes. The hue, the the amen, Hare Krishna, and all these cute little sayings that the so-called spiritual paths have, they're basically physical and astral is what they are. And they keep going lower and lower and lower till they're just basically a physical ritual is all they are. And this is what we see with the religions of the world. The religions of the world do relate to other levels, but unconsciously, basically not anywhere conscious. And that is, so they're basically just physical rituals is what they are, and that's as far as they go. And so actually the rulers of this world, they do relate to the astral reptilians, etc., but on a very, very low basis, because these individuals, these reptilians and other alien races, we call them alien, but we're all aliens here, but alien to us, they have been around a long time. And I'll say, like the Klingons in the series Star Trek, they're the bad boys, you might say. They're the ones that control others and do a lot of destruction. They're the ones polluting the earth with chemtrails and GMO food and anything else they can. The whole earth is basically in a grid, in a microwave grid. This is what they do till the planet's basically destroyed. They think they're protecting themselves, but at the same time they're destroying everything in the environment. And so, humans, that human idea that we use is basically at the mercy of having to deal with this. So fortunately, we are here providing the real knowledge to surpass all this. But it doesn't mean that the physical body is not going to be affected, and the other bodies, they're going to be affected, but not as much, because we have to deal with what others are creating here. But at the same time, you have this huge opportunity to wake up more so with the new you, have the real connection, watch your dream visions,